Hey, everybody. This is not our typical start to an episode. If you've been around and listened to the show, you know that when you click play, the first thing you hear is a clip from the episode that is essentially a teaser for what the conversation is going to be. And today is a little different because this episode, Jamie gets more vulnerable than we ever have on the show. And we've been pretty vulnerable on this show. And so we wanted to start really quick by just doing a little check-in and letting you know a little bit about what to expect. The guest we have on is another therapist who is amazing. And essentially what happens is he guides Jamie through this exercise. And it's really like you're listening in on a therapy session, or at least part of a therapy session. And so it's really powerful. It was powerful for me to experience and then even to listen back on. I was able to like access parts of my story just by listening to Jamie work through his. And I think that you, listener, are going to be able to do that too. But first, I wanted to just, before we go into the episode, this was about a month ago we recorded this. And so I just wanted to check in with you, Jamie. How are you feeling about releasing, again, essentially a part of a therapy session live to the public?
Yeah, I think this just shows we're not impervious to fear.
Yeah.
Like, we've worked so hard on vulnerability and honesty, but we've delayed. It feels like a month ago to you, but we recorded this 5 months ago.
Are you serious?
Yes. And
maybe it's just because we've been listening to it that it feels more recent.
And I think the reason that it has been 5 months is probably both of our fear and your care for me of putting this out. Just, it's that vulnerable, but we want to honor the therapist who came on because he is very talented and he has resources that we feel like our audience need to check out.
Yeah.
And so as you listen to this, I think one, I would ask for just grace for me because it's vulnerable. But I would just encourage you to notice what's happening in you. I think the way that I feel about this is I hope that it can be encouraging and maybe that people will be able to hear themselves in my story. So even though I'm afraid, I'm putting it out there. And it engages with different parts of me, different parts of what I wanted as a kid. And those are really vulnerable and they're scary things to say because it's me talking about other people, even in my family system, who I'm not trying to make it about. It's about me. And I think it's an exercise in honesty and honoring those I'm being honest about. So we're glad you're listening.
Yeah.
Definitely buckle up today.
Yeah. If you've been in therapy and have some familiarity with this world, it's not going to be too out of left field. We have a lot of people listening to the show who have never been to therapy before. And so you might be like, what the heck is happening when you hear Jamie like talking to his younger self? And that's okay because this would have been completely foreign to us.
Oh, not that long ago.
Yeah. And yet it is so powerful, and it is even possible for you to have this dialogue with yourself. And again, I think you'll see that as you listen to the episode. So we just wanted to give you a little bit of a here's what to expect and a little check-in with Jamie. And we
had some technical difficulties with this episode.
Yeah.
And we think we worked through them as best as we can to really give you the experience of this. So, just have lots of grace, but please listen because we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't feel like it was important. I'm telling myself that you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't feel like it was important. Yeah. So we love y'all. We thank you for listening. Yeah. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to 3%. We're your hosts, Jamie Haig.
And I'm Blake Roberts.
We're two best friends, fathers, husbands, and just two guys trying to figure it out.
We're also therapists, which is probably a pretty important part.
That's true.
And we believe that at our best, people are 97% honest with themselves and others. And it's that hidden 3% of emotions, needs, desires, and behaviors that we keep to ourselves that keep us bound to shame and loneliness, from which many of our issues stem.
Each week on this podcast, we'll interview leaders in the fields of psychology, theology, arts, and athletics to explore holistic masculinity. We're not here to tell you the man you need to be, but we are here to help you explore what gets in the way of being the man you want to be.
We're going to help you develop courage and give you the tools to share your 3% in the relationships that matter most so you can more deeply connect with yourself, God, and others. So, pull up a chair.
Let's get into it.
So let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we have a really exciting episode. We get to talk with a really special guest, and you get to hear some more of Jamie's story. And so today we have Dr. Andrew Bauman on today. He is the perfect guest to have on a show where we are talking about what it's like to pursue a more holistic masculinity. Andrew's a father, a husband. He's done a lot of his own work, which I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about, and out of that produces work that really helps men heal, engage their story, and just speaks to a lot of things that can be difficult to talk about. He's a licensed mental health counselor, founder and director of the Christian Counseling Center for Sexual Health and Trauma. And he's the author of 7 books, which I'm actually going to just read through those titles real quick, because as I was looking at them, I was like, this feels like it gives a pretty clear overall picture of like you and the work you're doing. So I'm going to start with my favorite title, How Not to Be an Ass, Essays on Becoming a Good and Safe Man. Wonderful. The Psychology of Porn. The Psychology of Porn, Stumbling Toward Wholeness, How the Love of God Changes Us, The Sexual Healthy Man, Essays on Spirituality, Sexuality, and Restoration, A Brave Lament for Those Who Know Death, which Jamie and I watched the film A Brave Lament, which you can find on YouTube, and I mean, it just wrecked us. It was...
Yeah.
We could probably spend a whole episode talking about just the pain and the beauty and all of the things that that I at least felt watching that and getting a little door into you and your wife's story. He also has Floating Away, a book to help children understand addiction, and his newest book, which is out or coming out soon at the time of this recording.
Yeah, January 21st.
Safe Church, How to Guard Against Sexism and Abuse in Christian Communities, which, as two people, which our listeners know this, I don't, Andrew, you wouldn't know this, both of our wives work in church ministry and are youth pastors at different churches. And so when I was reading the title of that book and just even learning about your dissertation and studying how that sexism and abuse affects women in the church, that strikes a chord for us, I would say. So very excited
big time.
for that.
Yeah,
for that resource to come out.
It's an important work, studied over 2,800 women who worked in the church and their experience of sexism and abuse. And it's just important for us as men to open our eyes to what image bearers of God have been experiencing in the church. And we've been complicit in that.
Man.
Yeah. Which is summed up, I mean, the title or the byline on your website is Helping Men Outgrow Destructive Behaviors So They Can Live Courageous Lives. Like, that just is, talk about the work we need to be doing, right? And so to have witnessed your words, we've never met in person, but to have witnessed your words virtually has been really impactful, and I know has impacted so many men and women, and so that's like those are the stats, right, of you. I'm curious to hear, as much as you want to share, kind of the 30,000 foot view of what even got you to the place of
Yeah,
being an author of 7 books and doing the work you're doing
for
now.
sure. Well, like probably most therapists, it's because of my own destructive story that nearly took my life. And so,
Hmm.
20, 25 years ago, I was in a psychiatric ward, nearly taking my own life, and
Hmm.
that kind of began the process for me to rebuild my life and step into my story and finally face my pain with my full body. It took a while. 13 years of porn addiction and abuse of women, and then slowly undoing that and outgrowing that behavior, where I can actually learn to honor women rather than devour them, and
Hmm.
learning how to have integrity. And so that's been the journey for the last 20 years in my own therapeutic journey in my own private practice, and helping men do the same. Sadly, I've got job security. Unfortunately,
Right.
there's a lot of us that need help how to outgrow the young parts of us, so we can no longer live as adolescent boys pretending to be adult men. And that's the work we do. And
Hmm.
that's the story I lived. Right, my father was a pastor and a vice president of a Christian college, powerful guy, and had a secret life, cheating on my mom with men for 20 something years, and
Hmm.
till that blew up. That kind of came out when I was 8 years old, and so that
Wow.
was the beginning of my origin story, where my mom leaves, single mom, 3 kids, and that was kind of the beginning of isolation and depression. And then I found pornography kind of when the internet became a thing around 12 years old. And that was, kind of the beginning of that self-soothing, and then nearly leading to my own destruction.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow. It's a very relatable experience, and honestly, I I knew more about more recent parts of your story with you and your wife, and the brave lament and loss of a second child as well, and
Ooh, excuse
those
me.
were parts that I really like. I said this to Andrew before we got on, but like those parts I really connected to. And we could and maybe need to do a whole episode about how men engage with the loss of unborn children or miscarriages or stillborn children, how they show up for themselves and show up for their wives.
Yeah, we
I
don't
think we
we don't do
probably
grief. We don't do grief very well.
we
No.
do not do grief very well. Um, and that might not be the focus of what we do today, but I do think it's something that if you're looking for a resource on even like the Brave Lament short film, I was saying to Andrew, like really allowed me to connect with my grief again, about my kids that are now with Jesus. Um, and I would encourage anybody who's listening to this who's looking for a place to start with that to go check out all of Andrew's work, because I think it's really, boy, it's really helpful. And to know this about your origin story now, it's just like, man, I'm just so grateful that you're out here doing work for other men.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it feels like a necessity, for my own sanity, for my
Yeah.
own health, and I just think I lost my father about 5 years ago, and still as I was pushing 40, like still longing for my father to show up for me, still
Mm.
longing for him to be present, and like he couldn't. He was still so filled with his own shame, his own self-hatred, and he still could not be free up till the end. And
Mm.
there's something in that, and thinking of my own little boy and how we'd go to church like 10 times a week, and yet nobody would address the emotional heartache and my loneliness and my core wounds. It's like,
Mm.
how are we talking about the mysteries of the universe, and we're missing the core wounds of this little boy who's longing to be fathered, who's longing to be mothered, who's masturbating and looking at porn, and doesn't understand the beauty and the mystery of sexuality. It doesn't make sense. And so I think that's part of what drives me is this, wanting to, if my father had the help that I'm giving, if my younger self had, the help that I'm now living, it would have changed a lot of the story.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I agree for us too. I know that
Yep.
for me, and Blake and I have talked about this. I feel like my dad tried to do such a more intentional job than his parents before him to show up for us boys in my family in healthy sexuality. And still, I found myself with great, just like lonely hurting because of the uncomfortableness that has surrounded healthy sexuality for so long. And Blake he has a totally different story with his father than I do. So,
But the themes of the lonely and the hurt and like it all, regardless of the type of fathering that I had versus what you had, like those younger parts of me still exist, and like Andrew, you're saying, still influence the way that I show up today. And when I'm not honest with the 3%, right, with the behaviors that I learned helped me stay safe at that time, then it's going to be hard to get to those wounded parts to be able to heal them, kind of like what you're talking about. And then even once you get there, like, what does that continued work look like? How do we continue to engage our bodies today? That's a phrase that I can imagine some of our listeners are familiar with, and then certain ones that are hearing me talking about us as men engaging our bodies, I can imagine some of the faces of like, what the hell does that even mean other than masturbating? And we're not talking about that. We're talking about engaging our bodies in this healthy way
Yeah.
daily, and to connect
There's
with ourselves.
there's so much around male embodiment that still needs to be discussed. There's something unique, right? Even the idea of our genitalia, of our penis being outside of our body versus a female vagina, like being inside their body, and the socialization of masculinity. We are taught, right, to be disembodied. When do you see men face to face and eye to eye? Right? When in competition, UFC,
Right.
boxing,
Right.
right? It's like, I'm going to destroy you, which is
Yep.
part of the socialization of domination and conquering, right? Whereas we are socialized not to be intimate. What I heard growing up is if you're emotional, you're gay, weaponizing and homophobia, or you're a girl, right? Like using femininity. And it's just like, wow, like we are taught to be disembodied. We are taught to be outside of ourselves and not to actually feel. And so the doorway into our work is to be fully embodied, which is why, we do somatic body work, why we use the five senses. And most of our workshop, men are 6 inches from each other's face, feeding each other, smelling, to like, we're doing sound baths, we're doing embodiment exercises, going into the depths of our tragedy stories, holding men down, raging. Like we're doing all the things to be fully human again and to become fully sensual, and like that's the work for us to be sexually healthy. And yet so many times it's like, well, we're just going to do the 12 steps, and we're just going to keep it in our minds rather than actually bring it to our bodies.
Yeah. Which is a perfect segue
Body keeps the
to
score.
body keeps the score.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Which is a perfect segue to what we were talking about before getting on here, and teeing up. Andrew's gonna kind of guide Jamie through a little exercise, just so you as listeners can hear. Like, it's one thing to talk about this stuff and for your prefrontal cortex to be activated as we're just telling you all this information, and it's another thing to drop down into your body and actually begin to experience it. And one way to be able to do that is just by witnessing other people do it. And so Jamie's willingly, after my encouragement gonna be guided by Andrew through an exercise. And I just would encourage you to, whether you're driving or whatever, just listen and even just pay attention to what happens in your body as you hear or watch, if you're watching this, what's happening, because you're going to be having a response too.
Sounds good. So Jamie, I want you to close your eyes. I just want
Okay.
you to take a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I want to hear your exhale. I want you to put one hand on your chest and one hand on your gut. Just feel your breath moving through your body. I'm going to give you a few incomplete sentences, and I just want you to complete the sentence without repeating my part. So just complete from your gut. I feel in my body.
Tense.
I feel tension in my.
Shoulders.
What my shoulders are telling me is
They're tired.
my shoulders are tired because
They're carrying a lot of weight.
that weight that I'm carrying is.
Being good enough.
Yeah. What that has historically looked like in my story is.
Human doing.
Yes. What I'm trying to achieve is.
Perfection.
Yeah. Whose favor I'm trying to win is.
My dad's.
Because if he sees me, then.
I'm worthwhile.
And if he actually saw me, if he was actually a healthy man, he would say,
I love you and I'm proud of you.
yes. Yes. Not hearing those words in that way has led me to.
Hide all my mistakes.
Yes. The consequences of that mask have been.
Loneliness.
That's right. That's right. If I were to speak to that little boy who's inside of me that feels so young, I would tell him,
It's okay that you make mistakes.
that's right. That's right. That's right. If you could imagine kneeling down, what does he look like? Continue to stay in the imagination. What does he look like? Describe him to us. Describe his face.
He's got a lot of freckles. He's got deep blue eyes that are really alive. He's a small kid. He's wearing a Florida Gators t-shirt because he always does.
Yes.
He's wearing mesh basketball shorts because he loves to play.
What does his face tell you? Look at his face. Imagine his face.
He's afraid.
That's right. He's afraid of.
Failing.
That's right. Because if he fails, he
Is a problem.
That's right. That's right. And what he needs most from you now is
A hug.
And so I don't know if you have an item, a pillow, or something nearby, but this would be a time where we would normally grab, we have actual physical dolls and stuff, but if you have any type of item that you could hold, yep, perfect. And just close your eyes and imagine. I want you to ask for his consent first.
Can I give you a hug?
And look at his face. What does his face say?
He'd love that.
That's right. I almost imagine him as almost like emaciated. Like he's so hungry for touch. He's so hungry for healthy touch.
Yeah.
He wants it so bad. Yet I almost imagine him even being a bit scared of you. A bit like, are you going to treat me? How are you going to treat me with contempt? Are you going to love me? Or like, I see him wrestling with if he can trust you or not.
He's worried there's strings attached. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, without making any false promises, what can you offer him as far as your commitment to breaking the cycle of curse that has been placed on that boy? Hold his face when you do it. Look at his eyes. I will.
I will not hurt you to teach you a lesson.
That's right. The way I will father you is.
I will try to be soft and slow to anger.
How I will engage your sexuality is.
Celebrate your curiosity.
Yes. Good. What does his face say to you now as he's hearing you? Does he believe you?
I think he's scared there's still strings attached.
Okay. So I'm wondering if all he needs is your commitment to be present with him. Whenever he has fear, whenever insecurity arises, that you will just be with him. Just a commitment to come alongside.
I'll be here.
I hear him saying, what if I screw up? What if I make a mistake?
Please do.
Will you love me still? Will you leave me if I'm not perfect?
I'm never leaving. I want to learn to love you.
And in that, You aren't going to make any empty promises, but you will be human with him. That means you will learn to make peace with your mistakes, because you can't require him to do something you're unwilling to do in your adult self.
Yeah.
Because he will watch you and he will learn from you. So I want you to thank him for his presence, for being with you, for showing up.
Thanks for being here.
I want you to take a few deep breaths. I want you to put, as you lay the pillow down, I want you to put both hands on your chest. And I want you to put some pressure on your chest. Both hands, and push hard on your chest. We're imagining that little boy becoming integrated into you as you push him back in, to know that he is with you. He is a truth teller. He is the essence of good. And he is a part of your adult self, becoming integrated with you. And you are solely responsible for his well-being. And if you curse him, you curse the very God who made you. Take a few more deep breaths. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Thank your good body for that good hard work. And whenever you're ready, come back into the room. I just want to check in with you. What are you feeling?
I think that part of me feels a little shame, like I was mean to my dad. But I think I also feel deeply grateful. Maybe it's that part of me feels deeply grateful to have been spoken to.
Yeah. And mean to your dad because you told the truth?
Because he has said, I love you and I'm proud of you.
Yeah, but you weren't able to hear it
Yeah.
because, I would imagine, because of his presence
Yeah.
with you. You needed more.
Yeah.
And so I think that can be even part of the wiliness of self-contempt, is we can turn on ourselves even when we're telling the truth.
Yeah. 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 I was just talking with a client about that yesterday. Through Jay Stringer's Unwanted. We were talking about honor versus honesty. And that is a continually evolving part of me, for sure. The honoring. I mean, the part I was talking to, he's like 11 years old.
Yeah.
If he's just saying what he feels.
Exactly.
I mean, the last time I saw an 11-year-old, I would never tell him. He was like, man, you're wrong for saying what you felt there.
Exactly. And what he needed was a secure father who could be present with him, rather than an insecure man who still hadn't dealt with his own wounds.
Yeah. Whew. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. What do you need? No, it's not an easy work to do, especially in this context. That's normally like $200 now that you owe me.
Right, right.
I don't know that I need anything. I loved the integration back into self, the pressing. It, I like what came to mind was like welcome back, adventurer.
Yes.
That
Yes.
that 11-year-old part of me, man, he was like,
Yes.
I always felt an embodied sense of the like almost the Tom Sawyerness in me, just like
Yes.
an absolutely alive adventurer.
Yes.
And that part of me gets pushed aside a lot these days. So it was nice to just welcome him back in.
Yes. Yeah, that's probably where your contempt lies. So when you can heal that little boy, you're gonna have a lot less self-contempt. Because so many of us men, we have contempt for the weak parts of us, for the young parts of us, for the vulnerable parts of us, right? Which is part of our socialization. And so we have to make peace with those parts of us and bless them, because you only have two choices, blessing or cursing. That's it. There's no middle space.
Yeah, and first, Jamie, thank you for being courageous to do that, and Andrew for guiding him through that. I felt, probably because I know your story so much, and probably because I have similar parts in me, but when you started talking about your dad, I felt that same kind of like that little part of me that was like, oh, I feel like I'm wondering if how Jamie will feel about this afterwards. Plus, we're doing this live, and it's going to go out into the ether, and who knows who will hear it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
as you're talking about that, Andrew, I mean, that's like such a theme that shows up in, I'm sure, all three of our works of like how we will choose to attempt to bless. I don't think it's blessing, but maybe the way we think of it is blessing our parents and cursing ourselves.
Yes.
And
I
I'm
think
curious. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we have really distorted that view of blessing our parents, where we actually end up just lying.
You're right.
That's not blessing.
Right.
That's the opposite. So I think the most honorable thing is to tell the truth, right? And that's actually what's most honorable, is telling the truth, and that's all of our way to liberation.
Yeah. And it takes a whole lot of work to be able to receive the truth, right?
Yes.
Especially from my daughter is not, at least with her words yet, telling me the truth of where I'm missing. And I don't know what you've experienced yet with Leo, but Andrew, your kids are how old?
12, 9, 6.
Okay. So I would make up that they've probably told you some truths that you've had to, I don't know, sit with and work through. And so
They are a mirror that exposes me daily.
you're like, Dad, you're telling people that this is what we're supposed to do. So here you go. Yeah. So I'm curious, like, even for people who are listening, maybe older dads that are listening, or people that are listening that are thinking kind of the same thing of like, well, if I am honest in this way, then I'm not honoring my parents, or I'm not acknowledging all of the good that they did do. Speaking from the end of like the father receiving that, I don't know what I'm asking, other than what encouragement do you have, other than like, you got to do your work to be able to receive that and be like, yeah, I'm not always doing good. I'm not always doing my best.
Totally. I mean, and you can read about it on my blog. I wrote about that concept of blessing our parents. I forgot what the title was, but it's on there somewhere. But the idea that our kids, but not only our kids, our wives, right? That's what when we work with marriages, it's like, if we can begin to look at these exposures, these truths, as gifts, rather than they're trying to annihilate me and we become defensive and reactive and we fight, and rather than like, thank you, like you just saved me $200 from therapy, right? Like, thank you for telling me that. And begin to see these gifts as different. Our marriages and our kids are always exposing us, always.
Yeah. Yeah, and exposure can be grace, can be an act of grace.
Yes.
And to experience it as that, at least the way I think of it and what I'm hearing you say, is we have to be familiar with the stories in our story where exposure was maybe more an act of harm than it was an act of grace.
Right.
I'm still like letting out. Like
I bet.
I feel like my body is still coming back to rest here. So
Oh, yes.
sorry, I'm leaving you out on an island here a little bit, Blake.
It can be,
that's okay.
it can be even like feel like almost like a hallucinogenic, that type of visualization and that type of body work. Like it literally has a similar effect.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially I can feel in my chest where we were working so much, like just like the,
Yeah.
whoa, I don't, my body's like, what's happening here?
Yeah. Definitely.
It's cool.
And so you guide men through a more intense, over a period of days version of
Yes.
of what you kind of just guided Jamie through.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we go, or our 4-day men's workshop. We do a really potent cocktail of, story work and somatic body work, and you basically, go into the depths of our core wounds and our battles with intimacy. And then level 2 group is we do that with women and men, and so men who've been abusive and been porn addicted, and women who've been abused. And then we get them to face each other and go into that in real time. And that's a pretty intense dynamic.
Yeah, I bet.
That's how we heal.
Yeah. Wow. And where do you do those workshops, Andrew?
In Brevard, North Carolina, and then some in Whidbey Island.
Yeah. Yeah. That Brevard holds a special place in my heart. It's such a place of beauty that I went to growing up. So I'm jealous that you live there now. And that's a great place to hold workshops like that.
It's a magical place. So we're currently building out we have 6.5 acre retreat center that we're still working on building out. So I'm getting closer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great. How can people sign up for these and make their way to it?
For sure. So check us out on www.christiancc.org, christiancc.org. And then you can find our work as well. And then my personal blog is just andrewjbauman.com.
Awesome.
Which
And
everybody should check out, even if you don't feel ready to jump into one of those workshops yet. Start with any of his work, because it'll warm you up for it, and then you'll see why you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, point out places in your story that need work for sure. Just in the, I appreciate your tone so much, and now talking to you, I realize like you're the same here that you are in your writing. It's like it's direct, it's compassionate, but it's unafraid, and I value that so much. Especially, I was reading one of your. I made up that it's more recent, but maybe it's not more recent. But just the messaging of masculinity.
Yeah, it has more reason.
Talking about things in my work with men, it was like you were just reading the places that I feel I get stuck as a clinician with men in my work. And you wrote it all in a blog of like how this is the messaging of masculinity we've all been fed, and it kind of put voice to like, no wonder we get stuck in our work with it in the counseling room, because that's not what somebody really wants to come in and change. They want to maintain their version of masculinity and just get rid of whatever difficult thing they're feeling but they want to maintain labeling that difficult thing they're feeling as weak so that they can get rid of it.
Yep, exactly.
This episode is certainly a tool and just an experience, and really, again, grateful for you taking the time to be with us and just share. Like, again, yeah, this is all of your work is clearly coming out of the depth of doing your own work, and that's felt. So
Thank you. Thank you guys
grateful
for having
your
me.
presence. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can have you back sometime to talk about grieving well as men.
Sounds good. I'm in.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Andrew.
All right. Thank you.
I really. So, I feel like part of me needs to say sorry.
I'm wrecked,
but
man.
also I don't, because you went there. I'm so proud of you. I mean, I was like over here kind of like tearing up. Kind of forgot that we were recording a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a gift. It
Yeah.
showed up. I mean, he was like joking, but it's true. That would cost so much money to do with him.
I know. Hey, he
And
consented to it.
He did, and he's so talented to be able to just drop in and then like maintain safety so quickly.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, for our listeners, I guess that probably, who cares about that for you? But even like I found myself having to leave the like clinical part of me at the door, who was like, "How did he do that?"
Oh yeah. That part
but-
was it was on the scene for me because I wasn't going through the exercise, and I'm like,
Yeah.
golly.
Well, then once he started asking the questions, and at first I was like, I don't know that I have a answer that feels like super true to me to some of these. And then the more he asked, I was like, just say what comes up, dude. Stop trying to overthink it. Just say what comes up. And then so quickly linked back to 11-year-old Jamie, who was hiding the computer in my parents' closet when I got found out for watching porn the first time.
And also, to be clear,
Caveat that with the first time.
yeah, that was not something that was pre-planned, where Jamie had a week to imagine. Like, that image just came to you.
Yeah.
And that's why I was
And
so
I had
grateful
planned
that
a different one prior to
Oh,
us
really?
record. Yeah, I'd planned on.
Oh yeah, the bass thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for everybody listening, we talked about engaging with like a shadow part of me, and so I was thinking of engaging with the part of me that's just not compassionate to me, which is something I'm working on in my own counseling. And so I had thought about bringing up just like this experience where I had messed up a recording thing once in a very public way, and that nobody actually cared about, but except for me and the part of me that was very unkind to me. And then he started asking questions, and I was like, that's not the part that feels it so bad.
Wow.
It's the part
Dude.
it's the part that believes like that I am bad. And it's the part who got found out with porn the first time. The part of me that was hiding for the first time.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Yeah.
that's why I was so glad that he was willing to do that, knowing that that's what he does in like sessions, because just to show us that even though it feels so uncomfortable and scary, like when we really are able to drop in with a safe person, in the presence of a safe person, and even on our own, and let the intuition of our bodies guide us, like it can take us to some really meaningful places.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you can't, that is more difficult to get to if, like you said, like in the beginning when he was saying, can you think of a time? And you were thinking of a time, and you were not thinking of that time of 11-year-old you with the Gators shirt, like, because
No.
that lives in that deeper part of your brain and your body that can only really be accessed through going through the body. And that's why this embodiment work that he's talking about and offering kindness to our bodies in this way is like so important. Yeah, that was
Man, he's talented.
Pretty powerful and
Yeah.
very courageous by you to go through that. So thank you for giving me that gift, and the listeners the gift. But also sounds like it was a gift to you.
It was big time, and I really was excited to do it. I don't think I was fully ready for what it was, but there's that part of me that just longs to experience freedom, and that felt like a taste of that, you know? So
Yeah.
I think
And now
that
you have-
to everybody listening, like that's a part, that's why you do the embodiment work, is like if you're
Right.
longing for that feeling of freedom, going into where it feels trapped, oh man, so relieving.
Yep. And now you have something to take into therapy tomorrow and go even
Yeah,
deeper
right.
with.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, man.
Well,
We
we didn't say our thing.
I'll
We're
say
going to
it.
get better at that.
Yeah, we do. But everybody, thanks for being here. Well, nope. We're glad you're here.
Well, yes, thank you for being here, but that's not the thing we
Thank
say.
you for being here. Yeah. Here's what we say. We're glad you're here. Keep coming back. You're worth it.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to another episode. Listen, we're working on some really practical resources to help you connect more deeply with yourself and others. So if you head over to our website, 3percentco.com, you can learn more about that. The link will be in the show notes. And this is the part of the show where we ask you for some help. Listen, we don't have a big fancy production team. We're recording these in my therapy office in between sessions and in the margins of our life. We just really believe in the message that much. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and rarely would I take the time to review and rate a show, just because honestly, I forgot. It wasn't until we started doing this show that I realized doing that actually really does help these platforms notice our show and get the word out. And so if any of this is impactful to you, we would love it if you took a second to leave us a review, rate us, or if you want to just do it the old-fashioned way, text this link to a friend and say, hey, let's talk about this episode. Whatever you do, make sure to follow us on whatever platform you're listening to so you never miss an episode. We're really grateful you're here, and we'll see you next week.
So let's be honest.